In this introductory chapter, the authors discuss the many influences that inform a strategic approach to organizational communication. They include a discussion of the field of communication studies as a whole, as well as the principles that distinguish strategic communication from other areas of study. Ultimately, this chapter concludes by outlining four foundational assumptions of strategic communication approach to understanding organizations. By definition, an organization is both a noun and a verb. As a noun, an organization is a social structure of members united toward meeting internal or external needs to pursuing a common goal. As a verb, organization implies a preventative or reactive process in which people anticipate and adapt to change for effective functioning. These definitions of organization imply a process that ideally results in a coherent, united, whole product made of interrelated and interdependent parts. Organizations are not closed systems, but must continually react to external and internal forces to survive. How organizations choose to communicate to internal and external members to address challenges can determine their success and failure. Organizations face internal challenges which are situated inside the organization and relate to its structure or communication among members. Organizations face external challenges brought about by forces beyond the organization's control. All organizations, profit, nonprofit, and government, face common challenges that are both influenced by and influence effective communication within the organization. They include the following: leadership and management styles and how people in those positions communicate have significant influences on employees and the organization. Regulatory laws, including both federal and state, can have enormous impact on organizations by affecting how they can operate. Taxes, trade policies, and other political concerns can also have significant effects on organizations. With mass media such as print, radio, or television, a message is being sent from one organization to a large audience. Media can have both positive and negative effects on an organization. Non-profit inexperienced or wariness of media can make creating positive connections difficult. With social media, users generate and share content. Organizations are not in control of negative feedback, and organizations must be competent sources of information. Stakeholders, including investors, customers, employees, or any other persons affected by the organization. To maintain positive stakeholder perceptions, organizations need to communicate a consistent, clear branding message. Peer relationships between members of the same hierarchical level affect how new members adapt and become part of the organization. Workplace bullying is the repeated health-harming mistreatment of persons and is damaging to the individuals and the organization. Collaboration involves an agreement to work with other organizations toward a common goal. A partnership is a more long-term, intimate, shared investment of resources, which usually involves a legal contract. Frequent and clear communication is necessary to fully realize the benefits of these types of relationships. Change is an inevitable aspect of organizational life and can be internal or external. Organizational change involves alterations or modifications to organizational structures or processes. Budgets, which usually include operating expenses, sales, assets, and income streams, are a primary concern for most organizations. Communication plays a key role in the production and dissemination of budgets, which in turn can have significant impact on organizational decisions. All of the above common organizational challenges require effective, goal-directed strategic communication. Indeed, employers consistently rate communication skills as one of the most sought-after skills. The boundaries, roles, relationships within, and purpose of organizations are created, sustained, and maintained through communication. While most people value good communication and believe they are effective at it, not that many are as good at it as they think. Fortunately, communication is a skill that people can improve on over time with practice. Fundamentally, communication is the process by which people stimulate meaning in the minds of others using verbal and nonverbal messages. Organizations continually engage in goal-directed communication for many reasons, including branding, promotion, and maintaining relationships. Aristotle classified the reasons we communicate as to inform, to persuade, and to entertain. There are a variety of mediums by which we communicate: in person, via text, phone, etc. And we have unspoken rules about when using each is appropriate. Using communication as a process can help overcome or manage communication challenges. The Shannon-Weaver model of communication is linear and was developed to describe and improve telephonic communication. This model identified 5 key components of communication: sender, the transmitter, channel, receptor, and receiver. Weaver noted this communication process can be affected by noise, broadly defined as anything that distracts from the correct reception of a message. David Boileau developed a model that isolated the common elements of all communication situations. It's called the SMCR model. The SMCR model of communication has 5 phases. Deciding on a message, sender selects a message to achieve a desired outcome. Encoding the message refers to the process by which the sender assigns symbols, such as words, sounds, or gestures, to his or her thoughts and feelings. Transmitting the message refers to a message being sent to the receiver using a channel selected by the sender. Perception of the message refers to the receiver who detects a message that has been sent and attends to it or perceives it. Decoding and assigning meaning to the message refers to the receiver who translates the symbols, which refers to the words, sounds, and gestures perceived into thoughts and feelings. Kinesics, body language, and gestures impact the communication process. Vocalics, tone and pitch, also affect the communication process. In reality, communication is much more complex than the linear models described. Message decoding can be affected by many factors, including the newness of the message, environmental distractions, past experiences, etc. Communication can also be influenced by the characteristics of the interactants and the organizations they are associated with. Communication is not a one-way activity in which the sender tells and the receiver listens. Feedback is the verbal or non-verbal message that the receiver provides and the sender as they perceive and assign meaning to the sender's message. The additional feedback that transforms the linear model into the simultaneous transaction model of communication. The simultaneous transactions model describes how the sender and receiver develop, share, shape, and reshape ideas at the same time. The characteristics of the simultaneous transactions model are that communicators simultaneously code and decode message at all times during an interaction. Analysis of other communicators involved in feedback is key to communication. We constantly assess and analyze our communication partners. The cycle of reading your audience or the intended message recipients allows the sender to better provide what is needed for accurate communication. Next, our previous interactions affect our present communication. Context is important. Context is the environment and situation in which communication occurs, such as the workplace, a classroom, friendships, etc. Context matters because all settings have prescribed normative roles and rules. Other contextual features include physical noise, temperature, lighting, and personal distractions. The channel used affects the communication process and outcome. People communicate differently based on the channel. For example, written communication may be more formal than verbal communication. Marshall McLuhan argued the medium and the message are virtually inextricable. And finally, communication is affected by socio-cultural elements. Socio-cultural variables include gender, sex roles, race, ethnicity, religion, social class, and economic status. Social cultural elements have rules for behavior that may be more subtle and difficult to learn than those related to physical context. The nature of the relationship between communicators influences communication behavior. The study of organizational communication focuses on how communication creates and maintains organizations, as well as the communication that happens in organizations. In contrast, strategic communication is the purposeful communication by an organization to advance its mission. All organizations engage in strategic communication. All organizations, from the smallest to the largest, have a common need to manage and orchestrate the messages they send. Also, strategic communication is mindful communication. For organizations, strategic is understood as the planned, purposeful steps organizations take to carry out their goals and aims. Strategic communication is driven by values, cultural assumptions, societal influences, and organizational identity. Therefore, strategic communication should be both ethical and mindful. Third, strategic communication is inherently interdisciplinary. Strategic communication intersects with several well-established fields, including marketing, public relations, advertising, and organizational communication. Integrated communication, under the strategic communication umbrella, focuses more on marketing initiatives. Some view strategic communication as an extension of the field of organizational communication research. A strategic communication approach to organizations focuses on messaging. Strategic communication efforts often emerge in the form of campaigns. Campaigns are systematic, purposeful attempts to create change in a defined audience over a specific time period. Campaigns occur through a wide variety of channels, including mass and online or interactive media. Strategic communication campaigns have a wide variety of purposes, including behavior change, branding, and advocacy. There are four foundational assumptions of strategic communication. First, strategic communication is enacted by individuals in all types of organizations. Second, strategic communication is not negative or manipulative, but planned and mindful. Third, strategic communication is an inherently interdisciplinary endeavor. And fourth, strategic communication focuses on messaging. In summary, strategic communication involves the purposeful communication of an organization to advance its mission and consists of four foundational assumptions that inform both academic and applied approaches. The strategic communication process is ongoing, reflective, and dynamic. And finally, strategic communication requires flexibility, adaptation, and dedication from organizational members.